Hey everyone, welcome to this MTZ Insiders update for the month of June. Moving forward here, lots going on astrologically. I wanted to give you guys a heads up in terms of what is going on this month. We do have an eclipse at the end of the month on the 21st. We got Mercury going retrograde this month and also Jupiter over Pluto. Also Mars changing sign. A lot to talk about, so I wanted to update you all so you can get some clarity moving forward going into July. So let's go and start first with the most important transit here coming up, which will be on June 12th. We've got Mars entering Pisces. And Mars is the side of ourself that is assertive, direct, has personal needs. And Pisces is almost the complete opposite in a sense. Pisces deals with the vast waters of life and having to have more faith and trust and letting go. And so that'll be June 12th, Mars entering into here. But this is going to be a very long transit of Mars because Mars will be here all the way until January 10th of next year, because he is going to go retrograde between September 9th through November 14th in this watery constellation. So he'll go direct all the way until September 9th. He'll go retrograde until November 14th and then finish up until January 10th. So a long transit of Mars in this very deep watery part of the chart. So I think June 12th moving forward, collectively, if there are any ideals that you do want to put some motivation and drive into, it can be an excellent time to do this. Some of you, maybe spirituality, could be a great time of putting action towards that. Maybe putting action towards things that are going to give you more peace in life, right? And it'll be so important to take action in a way that's more receptive, right? To surrender what's outside of our control, to listen to the currents of life, start to put energy towards the currents of where life's taking us versus trying to swim upstream, right? Trying to fight the current. It's way better for Mars and Pisces to be more receptive, more attuned, listen to our intuition, and especially if there's any motivation and drives you can put into some sort of ideal, something important to you on a soul level or spiritual level or psychological level. Really good way of working with this transit coming up on the 12th. Now on the 17th and 18th, Mercury is going to go retrograde this month to join up with the Venus retrograde we've got and those outer planets as well. So a lot of retrogrades here. But 17th, Mercury retrograde in Gemini. I think it'll be great to start to rethink some of the stuff that we could be learning. You know, Gemini fundamentally is about gaining new knowledge and information. And this has been where Mercury is at. So it has been a good time to learn, to maybe pick up that book, maybe do some writing, doing some practical things. But with the retrograde, the 17th onward, I think it's good to start to allow for some flexibility here, to maybe go back, revisit some things to learn. For those of you who have been maybe creating things with your mind, like writing or something like this, maybe going back and editing during the retrograde. So giving yourself plenty of flexibility. This will be from the 17th all the way up until July 11th with Mercury retrograde here. And just an all-in-all good time to experiment with new knowledge, learning new things, maybe trying some things out involving writing. It's about flexibility because during the retrograde, we do want to experiment, but things do change, right? Things will change, information will change. Sometimes communication can change very heavily during a retrograde in Gemini like this. So just be flexible, but great time to experiment with all things involving learning, knowledge, and information and communication. Now, this is one of the areas that the solar eclipse is going to be coming out of. We have the solar eclipse on the 21st. And this is going to be right in between Gemini and Taurus. So new beginnings with the eclipse, usually to our life path and for the next 6 months, so for the remainder of 2020. One of the areas will be collectively in regards to learning and all things practical with Gemini. For some of us, again, some new things involving gaining new information, doing some writing, some learning. You know, some of this very practical, mental kind of energy, really good. Gemini can also be business and trade, right? Maybe some of us starting businesses or getting into trade. More of that Gemini energy, which is all about synergy, synergizing things, whether it's learning synergy in our minds, communication synergy, or maybe, you know, like the business trade synergy of things as well. So this is one of the areas where there's a new beginning. Of course, Mercury will still be retrograde during the eclipse on the 21st. Again, he'll be retrograde till the 11th of July. So still give yourself plenty of flexibility with whatever those new beginnings might be until we get to about mid-July. Now, the other area is in Taurus. The eclipse will be in between Gemini and Taurus. And Taurus is where we've had a lot of focus of attention lately for about the past month and a half or more. And this is where the sun's been transiting through here, Venus as well. And so Taurus represents our resources, right? It's been a really good time of focusing on becoming more resourceful as individuals. So cultivating our inner strength, some of us self-reliance, self-worth, developing those inner resources, but also externally as well. It's been a great time to connect to nature. For some of us to have more abundance, resources, right? Get into the natural realms, beauty, aesthetics. So this is the other area where there will be new beginnings going through for the next 6 months, is how can we further develop our inner resources and outer resources, along with this willing to learn, share, and synergize with Gemini. So earth and air, resources and mental energy or communicative energy, right? Great way of working with this new beginning and new cycle for the rest of 2020. Now again, be flexible with it because Venus will be retrograde all the way up until the 25th. So just after the eclipse, and again, Mercury not until the 11th. So while it's a time of new beginnings, all these retrogrades are pointing towards still experimenting. And with Venus retrograde in Taurus, it's still a good time of experimenting with our values. What do we enjoy? Maybe redoing some of these things that involve the resources in some way. So be flexible, but once these planets start to go direct, again, Venus on the 25th, Mercury on July 11th, it really then starts to pull on a lot of forward-moving momentum with whatever this new shift, this new beginning is coming out of this total solar eclipse in practical Gemini and resourceful Taurus. All right, I do want to mention that the eclipse will be squaring up to that Mars, and we've had a lot of squares up to Mars lately. And so in this case, how can we do this practical stuff and resource-based stuff? You know, this part of the sky very much deals with for those of you who know, it's deals a lot with the constellation of Orion, and Orion is the very physical aspects of ourself, right? The mind with Gemini, the natural self with Taurus. And so with all of that, and Mars going into such a deep, watery part of the chart of Pisces, which is more about spirituality, there will be a good challenge here. It'll be a good time to challenge yourself to cultivate these practical things while at the same time, again, be receptive, right? Listen to our intuition, surrender what's outside of our control, take action in conscious and constructive ways, preferably towards some sort of spiritual ideal or something that's going to give us more soul satisfaction, spiritual peace in our life. That would be a great way of working with this solar eclipse. All right, and the last thing I do want to say is that at the very end of the month, on the 29th and 30th, we do have Jupiter passing over Pluto once again. This happened back on April 4th. And this will be the second contact. The last one will be in November 12th. And the second contacts, the middle ones, they're usually a shift because it's the retrogrades, right? Jupiter and Pluto are retrograde. So we come to some sort of shift of awareness. So at the end of the month, 29th, 30th, maybe a shift of perspective, right? Because this is all in Sagittarius and Jupiter's about perception. And so if there is anything that you do want to expand your perception about, maybe let go of some old beliefs with Pluto, right? Pluto is helping us remove a lot of old beliefs, a lot of old perspectives that then leads to new ones, right? So great time of expanding our perception, great time for things like philosophy, spirituality, especially if it involves deep diving to uncover things, right? But fundamentally, how can we continue to expand that perception in such a way that we're willing to let the past perceptions go? Right? It really is a transformation to those perceptions, a rebirth. But in order to do that, we do have to allow for the ending to create for the new beginning. And in this case, very important collectively for new perception arising and in our personal lives as well. Again, supportive for all things that involve a bit of adventurousness, a bit of open-mindedness, and more abstract stuff with Sagittarius. All right, so that is the month in a nutshell. Again, Mars in Pisces put action towards some of that receptive, spiritual, satisfying stuff all the way until January 10th. Great way of working with this. Give yourself plenty of flexibility with all these retrogrades strongly until July 11th, but nonetheless, new beginnings coming out of our mental sphere of learning, gaining knowledge, maybe our practical life, as well as our resources, which already have been in development. Regarding increasing our inner resources and outer resources, both for nature, for beauty, for comforts, abundance. Right, great way of working with this new cycle, and that's going to be the theme probably for the next 6 months, going into the next eclipse cycle, which will be in December at the end of the year. But in this case, the very practical areas of life, setting some new beginnings with that, especially once these planets go direct all go direct by July 11th. Really will be implementation mode. And before that, still good to start things, but again, with flexibility because of the retrogrades. All right, so everyone have a fantastic June. Thank you so much for watching. So I'll see you all in the next MTZ update. And yeah, have a great one. Take care.